Welcome and thank you for joining us as Affinity Community Services introduces the second installment of the Blackprint, a plan to build the capacity of Black LGBTQ plus women leaders. My name is Imani Rupert-Gordon, and I'll be your moderator today. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, or they, them, and theirs, and I'm the Executive Director for Affinity Community Services. Affinity is a social justice organization, and we work with all LGBTQ plus communities with a special emphasis on Black LGBTQ women. Joining me today are two incredible entrepreneurs whose careers intersect with providing access and representation to underrepresented groups. The first is a showrunner and independent filmmaker, Coquie Hughes. Coquie is a powerhouse with over 8 million views on her YouTube channel and has directed more feature films than any Black woman ever. The second is the amazing Monica Roberts. Monica has won numerous awards for her writing and for her advocacy. She's the founding editor of the award-winning blog, TransGriot. Today, you'll hear from these two panelists. You'll hear about their experience building their career around providing representation. And you'll have an opportunity to ask them questions that has to do with your own leadership capacity. Now, before we get started, I'd like to give you a quick overview of the platform we're using so that you can get the most out of this workshop. Right now, if you look on the bottom of your screen, you'll see that we have different purple icons. You can hover over those and figure out what each of them do, but you'll also notice that you're already on mute. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to interact with participants here. You'll see that there is a box where you can write chat, where you can chat with other individuals, and question and answers where you can ask questions that the panelists will have a chance to answer. There are purple icons that will help you navigate through either of those. And if you want to change, if you've done too much, you can also hit the blue reset button, and that will return your screen to the original setup. Also, you'll notice that around each of the video boxes, or each of the boxes, there is a gray border. If you click and drag those borders, you can make your screens larger or smaller. And so feel free to play with those. And again, if you change your mind, you can just hit the blue reset button and it'll take you back to the original setup. Finally, periodically, we will ask some questions about some polling questions. These are going to be located on the left of your screen, and they're designed to let us know how you're experiencing the discussion so that we can help give you the best experience possible. So let's get started and start with the polling question so you can see how this works. Are you ready to get started? Yes, I've been waiting for this all day. Not yet, I'm still heating up my lunch. Or actually, I'm wondering if Imani can show me more features about the platform. We have jokes over here. So we are excited to get started. So we're going to, but the topic of today's workshop is building economic power. At a time when people can still be fired from their place of employment based on their sexual orientation or from their gender identity, it's a beautiful act of resistance to see people like these amazing panelists that have built their careers around providing access and representation in their fields. So to start off, can you please share your pronouns and what inspired you to do the work that you do? Coquie, let's start with you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Coquie, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. I see you. Imani?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, cool beans. Yes, good afternoon, and thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful event. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And what was the question again? I'm sorry, I know you told me to say my pronouns.
No
and what was the question?
So what inspired you to do the work that you do?
I just like to tell stories that I feel relate to me. And I wanted to tell stories that translated my experiences as a woman, as a Black woman, as a lesbian woman, and being able to be a filmmaker gave me that opportunity. So that's why I became who I am, because I wanted to see my stories and I felt like I could execute it. So that's why.
Thank you so much, Coquie. I appreciate that. Monica, the same question for you. Could you share your pronouns and then what inspired you to do what you do?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. Definitely.
Pronouns. Okay. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And they are required pronouns. Because far too often with trans folks, the impression is that our pronouns are optional, and they aren't. So what motivated me to start the blog was that back about 2002, 2003, when blogging was first starting to take off, I was starting to notice that we had about maybe 50 to 100 trans blogs, but none of them spoke to transition the way that Black trans folks deal with it, or even talk about issues in the transgender community from a Afrocentric perspective. And since I was already writing a column for a local paper, LGBT paper in Louisville, where I was living at the time, I saw it as a real-time way to talk about breaking news and issues of the day. So that's how I got started, and 7 million hits and a GLAAD Media Award later.
Yeah, you're doing all right, Monica. We're proud of you. So Coquie, you've garnered over 8 million views and 57,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. And I don't know if folks know, but you've directed more feature films than any Black woman ever. Additionally, you do this on an incredibly small budget. And I'm wondering, can you share with us, how do you make this happen? Like, those are some pretty amazing statistics. And you're also saying that you don't have that much money that you're doing it. How do you make all of this happen?
Well, honestly, you have to have a mindset of being fearless. And what I do is, when you have that mindset of this is something that you want to accomplish, and setting tunnel vision or tunnel focus, you can essentially accomplish anything that you want. So that's what I do. And so when you have this type of mindset, the ideas will come to you as far as what you need to do to execute the films that you want to make. And I'm constantly coming up with innovative ideas on how to raise money. You know, I do the typical thing that a lot of content creators do, whereas they do like crowdfunding, they sell merchandise, they beg people for support. So, but you also have to have like a, innovative ideas and switch it up. And so like this one campaign that I'm working on, which is my project called Granny Ballers, I decided to do a fundraising campaign by reaching out to small businesses who want to advertise in my on my project, and through product placement or brand integration. And so they would pay a fee, and then I would use that fee to finance the project. And right now I created like this prototype video. I think I did. I sent you guys a copy of it, and maybe we could play it for everyone to see, so that you can get an idea of some strategies that I would use to get the word out about what I'm doing. And particularly, like I say, I'm targeting businesses. You know, it's much easier when your face is on here, because then it doesn't seem like I'm not talking to nobody. So I'm glad your face is back on here. Like, what do I look at? Do I look at me, or do I? So cool. I'm glad that you're back on. So yeah,
Perfect.
But
okay.
yeah, like I say, I have a video.
Yeah, so why don't we go? So two things. Why don't I, I'll just always stay here on the video. We'll do that. But then why don't we play this video too? Because it'll give some really good ideas about the way that you went about doing this. And I think another thing that's really important about this is that you did this entirely yourself. So you're doing a lot of everything. So yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and play the video.
Okay, cool.
Entrepreneurs, what is your favorite TV show? What if you had the opportunity to place your product or advertise your service on a popular show similar to your favorites? Imagine being able to reach thousands of potential customers simply by having what you sell displayed or mentioned in the storyline. As a matter of fact, one way TV networks finance your favorite shows is by selling ad sponsorships. Corporate products are creatively integrated into a show with the fundamental goal to convert the viewers into customers. Here's an option for you as an emerging entrepreneur. Become an ad sponsor for the upcoming dark comedy series, Granny Ballers. It's a story about 4 grannies who in their younger years were rebel activists. Think Angela Davis, Shirley Chisholm, Fannie Lou Hamer, or Nina Simone, to name a few. And these grannies decide to come together to help the less fortunate by getting quick, fast cash any which way they can.
It's actually a heartfelt story about going the extra mile to help someone other than yourself. The first season will feature 10 commercially viable mini episodes. This series will have an unlimited market reach because it will stream online through video on demand, giving your brand a substantial amount of exposure as an ad sponsor. As a silver level ad sponsor, you can have your brand or product strategically placed in an episode. As a gold level ad sponsor, you can have your brand or product mentioned in an episode as part of the storyline, in addition to having your brand or product placed in an episode. And as a platinum level ad sponsor, you'll receive a 15-second video commercial about your brand or product and be recognized as the presenting sponsor, whereas your brand or product introduces an episode with the preceding expression, "This episode is brought to you by." You'll also receive product placement as well as brand integration into the storyline. There's only a limited number of advertising slots available to emerging companies to be a part of this groundbreaking initiative. So to sign up and become an ad sponsor, or for more information, please go to coquiehughes.com. Thanks.
Thanks so much for that. I love that video, and I'm glad we got a chance to play it, because I think anyone that's looking to help fund something, there's a lot that you can take away from that. That video was only 2.5 minutes long, and it provided opportunities for people to talk about sort of their own businesses, why they'd want to buy into this, obviously having it in different levels, which is always something that we want to do. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course, thank you for allowing it to be played.
So Monica, I was psyched to hear that you got a GLAAD Media Award. That's an incredible honor. Even to just be nominated is an incredible honor. And so I'm wondering, can you talk about what makes TransGriot, the blog, and then also TransGriot Weekly, the video podcast that you do, which I got to say, I think is my favorite. What makes that extraordinary? And what makes the work that you do unique? What do you think makes it different than what else is out there?
Because for the first time, we have had a blog that literally focuses on talking about a transition from a Black person's perspective. That is far different from our white counterparts. The issues that we face as Black women and as Black trans women are different from my white counterparts. They're even different from my Latinx and Asian counterparts. That's it. So, and also in terms of the blog itself, it's been in existence since 2006, consistently in existence. Because far too often I've seen people that have wanted to start blogs within the Black trans community. They'll go on it for a couple of, they'll go at it for a few months or a year, and then it dies out for some reason. I've been fortunate enough to where it has, I've had staying power, probably because I was the first, one of the first people doing it. And also because I got a lot of attention early. Matter of fact, one of the first people to link to it was Pam Spalding from Pam's House Blend. And that was and Jasmine Canick's blog. So they gave me some early, links and stuff that helped build my readership. And some of the other places that I've written, like ebony.com and stuff, have also built my readership. And as you well know, I have a unique way of talking about talking about the issues of the day, and and get a little creative in my language on it as well.
Right, you do definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And your blog has been around for 12 years now, right?
That's correct.
Wow, that's
12
incredible.
years. Started on midnight on January 1st of 2006. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's basically what motivated me. Why I call it TransGriot is because I wanted to document the history of the Black trans community, because I come from a family of historians, and one of the questions that I asked myself when I transitioned was, I knew that we did things as Black trans people. We were the foot soldiers. We were the folks that were helping organize, as Marsha P. Johnson and others have proven. But who are our heroes and sheroes? And one of the reasons I called it, TransGriot, was because, I wanted a name for the blog that reflected my heritage. And griots are oral historians in West African culture who can recite up to 5 centuries of their people's history from memory.
Wow.
And basically, over time, I have become the griot for our trans community. In terms of talking about a lot of the issues that many of our, our counterparts weren't talking about, like HIV and AIDS, affecting, Black trans folks, the racism that was in the community and still in the LGBTQ ranks, and still is, unfortunately. Even, delving into, ballot initiatives, calling out the media that was disrespecting trans women when they were killed, and also tracking those murders, not only tracking those murders, but tracking when people are arrested for those murders, basically, tracking the prosecution and seeing how that goes, and seeing how whether that person got time for doing so.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate it. So I also want to ask this: what is the most difficult job that or the most difficult thing that comes across as an entrepreneur? And what do you do to combat, rectify, navigate that? And Coquie, why don't we start with you? What's the most difficult thing that comes up for you?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. The most difficult thing is keeping your mind regulated, because being an artist, it takes faith to be an artist, and it takes endurance, and it takes the will to never give up, because you do experience a lot of rejection and a lot of judgment, but to be able to build yourself up on the inside so that you're strong to be able to endure all of that, then you can be a survivor. So I would say that can be the most challenging, just like okay, why am I doing this? This doesn't make any sense. I could, I have the skills and the credentials. I can just go and get a regular 9 to 5 and do not have to worry about all of this nonsense. And so, the thing is just to keep at it, regardless of the challenges, and not so much focus on that. As I mentioned earlier, having tunnel vision, setting a goal and just being focused on it no matter what. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, Coquie. Monica, same thing. What is the most difficult thing that comes up for you in the work that you do, and how do you handle it?
Oh, where can I start on this one? Because as you know, my reputation of basically speaking truth to power. Let's see. I wrote a post a couple of years ago, and when I called out the racism in the community, I called "Your pink sheets are showing," and that was probably my most controversial post at the time. Where I actually had people demanding that I apologize for putting the picture up of the pink person wearing the pink Klan hood, and I'm like, for what? I told the truth. Also, because this is basically an opinion blog, I don't get advertisers because sooner or later I'm going to piss somebody off from something I write. So I don't get a lot of advertisers, and I do get people who donate to my PayPal button to help defray some of the cost of keeping this going, because internet service cost. I said that bill comes every month, so I got to find a way to pay that. So so I'm thinking about some other ways of doing it, up to and including basically going the 501c3 route, like Slate Magazine did. I'm thinking about doing that as a way for people to be able to donate and also deduct it from their taxes, because I'm a 501c3. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's do a polling question to see where you all are. Have you ever thought of producing a film or starting a blog? Yes, no, or I don't know. Now, while that comes in, let's get to the next question. We want to give folks some tangible skills right now. And so if someone's out there and they want to start making films like so many people we know, or produce an informative award-winning blog like so many people we know, how would they go about doing that? Coquie, why don't you get started and tell us, how do we produce a film?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, in this day and age, this is like the best time to be a storyteller, a filmmaker, a content creator. You essentially do not need to have any money at all. Most people, they have mobile devices like a cell phone or access to a tablet, and even laptops that are that have webcams embedded into them. If you have a camera, you can tell your story. And what I find is most people are forgiving of your production value, but if the story is relative, they'll be engaged by it, and they'll want to see it, and then they'll want to see it again and tell others about it. And so the first thing I would just say to anyone who wants to make a film is just do it. I mean, because you have the desire in you already. So the steps for you to make it happen are also there too. Just, it's just a matter of you trusting yourself and making the necessary steps to make it happen. And so I say the first thing is to, write your vision out, write what you want to do, and share that vision with others. So the thing is also is to get a support around you that that believes in what you want to do, and and having this collectiveness of minds that are coming together, you can make it happen. And even if you don't know the first steps about making a movie, one of the things when I first started out, there was not no YouTube and the access to the internet as it is. And so there's so many. You don't have to pay like $30,000-$40,000 to go to film school. You can just look on your phone or on your laptop or computer and go to YouTube and just Google how to make a movie, or do a search on YouTube how to make a movie, and the steps will be there for you. So and so if anyone wants to tell a story, they can do it, and they can do it in such a way as that they can monetize on it to make money from it too. So it's not just exclusive to just a select group like Hollywood, whereas only certain people were privy to, the secrets of, movie making. Now it's available for anyone. And I think that if anyone has a story to tell, you should have that bravery and that boldness to tell it. Tell your story.
Thank you so much for saying that. Something that's resonated with me, I just found out at one of our events here at Affinity, we had Yvonne Wellbon, who just wrote her book, Sisters in the Life. And that's when I found out that you had directed more feature films than any Black woman in the world, which is incredible. Now, you're telling us to just get out there and tell our story. And I'm realizing that once upon a time, you were tied with the rest of us of having directed no feature films. And now you've directed more than anyone. And you're telling us to just go out there and tell our stories. And that's something that's resonating with me that I want to take with me. Yeah. Because it wasn't that long ago that you and I had directed the same amount of feature films. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for receiving it.
Yeah. Monica, same question for you. How do you, well, as it applies to you, how do you make a thoughtful, informative, written and video blog?
Basically, it's one part perseverance, one part having a story to tell, one that is compelling enough, for people to want to read it, and frequent posting when you do start it. If you're thinking about trying to go into blogging and looking to make a bunch of money and stuff, no, that's not going to happen. Especially if you're doing social justice blogging, that's not going to happen. That's usually the gossip blogs and stuff that get the advertising and stuff for that. So you really have to be dedicated in keeping up with what's going on in the community and talking about all the issues that impacted, and publishing on a regular schedule so that people, I try to have at least on TransGriot at least 3 posts a day, at least one at midnight, one that goes up around noon, and then based on what the news cycle is doing, I may do one like at 10 a.m. Central Time, or whenever the mood hits me, and I say, or I've had this thought and I just gotta get it on, I just gotta get it on electronic paper. That's when I write. But the main thing is I try to, post at those 3 particular times. The midnight post is for my readers that are not in the United States. I do have readers from the UK. I do have readers that look at this in Brazil. And surprisingly, I have folks, in Russia and other parts of Europe that read this blog. So that midnight post is really for the folks across the pond and internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just also being patient. It's also being patient and knowing that when you put your thoughts out there, yes, there are going to be critics. Bump the haters, because you're basically, especially when you're a person of color speaking your truth, that's going to offend somebody, no matter how innocuous it may seem to you. Ignore them, and just keep on speaking your truth, and eventually you'll get the attention. I was writing probably maybe 6 years before I finally even got a nomination, and it took me. This was my third GLAAD award nomination, and the first one of them happened like in 2014, and I was shocked. There's a funny story behind it. I found out about it because during Creating Change, when we had it here in Houston, and I had just finished a panel with the National Black Justice Coalition, and Charlene Carruthers stops me and she goes, "Hey, congratulations on your nomination." And I go, "What nomination?" And you got nominated for a GLAAD Media Award. And I went, "Oh, that's nice." But and then, because when she stopped me, I was also the co-chair of, and responsible for helping to run the Person of Color Suite. And I literally was in the process of running out the door and heading up to the suite to check on it when she stopped me. But I didn't win it that year. But the fact that I finally got it this year was amazing, and even more amazing was the year before that, Alvin McEwen from Holy Bullies and Headless Monsters, who's black gay male who talks about a lot of issues and mainly focusing on the religious right. And from so it was it's the first time in the history of those awards that black bloggers have won back-to-back awards. So, and I'm the first trans person of any ethnicity to win it. So.
Yeah, that's amazing, Monica. Thank you so much for sharing so much about that. I think that's something that we need to hear, that folks are going to criticize you and to get your story out there. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I am going to take with me the frequent posting. That is something that I think definitely stands out to me about your blog, is that it always has something up to date. So thank you so much for that. So that's going to conclude the part of our facilitated Q&A. And now we're going to get to your questions. So if you haven't written any, now's the time to do it. But I do see that we have quite a few here. So let's see. The first one I see is, let's see, this one is, okay, let's answer this for both of you. Have you struggled with accepting funding from folks, businesses, and organizations that are not that you're not ethically in alignment with? Coquie, why don't we start with you?
No, people who give me money, they want to give me money. So I haven't had that experience of someone who ethically doesn't align with what I believe in, because I attract who I'm looking for, and so the people that work with me or deal with me or are feeling me, they just give it to me and I receive it. So no, I haven't had that experience.
Okay, good, thanks. What about you, Monica? Have you ever had to think critically about who you're accepting funding from?
I have. There was a situation where I had been calling out Chuck Nip, who is this white gay man who does a blackface drag queen act. And I've been on him probably since 2002, when he and RuPaul first became buddy. And one day I look up and on my PayPal is a donation from him for 15 cents. Well, he was not only being insulting, he was trolling me.
Mm.
So it was, so it was kind of easy to basically just tell him, you need to chill with this, and it's not going to stop me from calling your butt out on what you're doing. Because but like Cookie, most of the people who donate, and I have like about 4 people who give me regular donations. One person gives me like $10 every month. But that adds up. Another's doing like a $50 donation every month. So, but it does help pay, the expenses, for the internet and stuff. But like Cookie, I don't say, if the Republican Party suddenly wanted to hand me a nice fat check, ethically, that's just the way I'm wired. I just couldn't accept it because I don't, or any group that I run that runs counter to my personal beliefs, or who is attacking our community, I would not be accepting any donations from them. Period.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, Monica. I appreciate that. So we have some other questions. Feel free to write your questions in. Let's do, let's see, that one just disappeared. Sorry about that. We all have unique stories in our lives. How do we put it in format, a story that is relatable or that people would want to see, hear, or read? Cookie, why don't we start with you?
It depends on how you want to express that, or what platform you want to put it out there. Now, are you speaking in terms of putting your story out there through a Facebook post, or doing a Facebook Live, or taking a picture of yourself?
Well, we're talking about you, so let's talk about a film.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So the question is, how do you put this? Can you say the question one more time?
Sure. Let's see. So the questions disappeared, but how do you find? We all have our stories to tell. How do you make your stories relatable to a larger audience in a way that folks would want? How do you tell your stories in a way that would resonate with multiple folks? I think is what it's getting at.
Well, I think what I do first is I deal with what is the human experience, or what's relatable to other humans. Because even though I may make content that's geared toward a certain niche audience, urban, queer, gay, lesbian, Black women, but it is just as easily relatable to that suburban white woman, cisgender, that's married to a white male and if it's dealing with issues of emotions and how to overcome those emotions, it's relatable. It doesn't matter what the image is portraying it. I can relate to it as a human being. I remember when I had started the whole If I Was Your Girl project, mm-hmm. I found that more straight people were watching my content, or just as much as straight people were watching my content as the demographic that I had specifically geared it for. So I sort of kind of approach a project like I make it for a specific audience, but I make it appealing enough that anyone can embrace it or enjoy it. So
wonderful. Thank you so much. Monica, same question. How do you make, when you are writing your blog, and when you have your video blog, how are you making your stories relatable for folks and making people interested in wanting to hear your story?
Well, like Cookie just said, a lot of our stories and stuff translate. across the human experience. But there are, and they're just folks that are truly interested, because they don't have contact with a lot of folks in Black trans world, for example. They want to, they're fascinated and hungry for that information, or they want to know what's going on, to be more informed about the issues. And I've also found that, although the blog is geared, to talk about the issues and for an audience of Black folks, some of my biggest fans are in the collegiate ranks. I've also run into people at conferences who said they've been reading my blog since they were teenagers. And the one thing that is the most important to me, I've had at least 5 people tell me that reading posts on this blog dissuaded them from committing suicide.
Wow. That's beautiful. Thanks so much. I wanted to, let's see. So Coquie, here's a question I want to ask. So this work is incredibly personal for you. And also, if you don't work, you don't eat. So I'm wondering, does that kind of hinder your creative process, having that kind of pressure? And if so, how do you get through that?
Oh, yeah. Like I say, it's a daily mindset, because I make it known to people that I am a parent. I have 2 young children. I'm a single parent. I'm a sole parent, and I'm also a full-time artist. And so having multiple skills as I have, because yes, I am a filmmaker. I make movies and I write and I direct. And that is my passion, my desire, my career. But I also have other skills that offset so that I can take care and provide for my children. I'm a web designer. I write screenplays for other people. I edit. I do photography, freelance photography. I sometimes work on building stage sets for theater. So I have a multiplicity of skills, or multiple streams of income. And so, so even though, and so of course, when I'm doing those other things, it does pull away from that creativity, but then comes discipline and setting deadlines for yourself. Like, let's say, okay, you say you're going to put this project out. You have to just discipline yourself to commit to your project, in addition to all the other things you do. Because I'm also a media arts educator too, where I teach young people. So it's like, it's just a matter of keeping a balance and learning how to discipline yourself. You have to have a lot of faith and a lot of self-discipline as an artist. And then you also have to embrace just going with the flow too. I do that as well. And then when you go with the flow, blessings and opportunities just come to you. And I'm learning how to do more of that, because it doesn't take as much effort when I just go with the flow, and just blessings just come to me. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Coquie.
No problem.
So, Monica, you write about the death of trans folks. You talk about obviously racist policies and rants that folks do, and you do this all in real time. And I'm wondering, how do you manage to separate your feelings as someone who experiences racism, sexism, transphobia, and all these other things, and write about it? Is it ever too much for you to do?
Every now and then, you may see a post go up in which I will say, it's a me time weekend, and I'll be back posting on Monday. So yeah, there are times when I have to kind of step away from it. And as you know, I've recently been in the process of trying to move, which, you know, I've been in this new place now for about a week, getting ready to go up on a week. So that has consumed, you know, setting up all the stuff that you have to do in a move has kind of cut into my creative time.
Mhm.
And I also tend to, as a night owl, I tend to like to write late at night when it's kind of quiet and I know half the planet is asleep. Most of the folks that I know are asleep, so I'm not going to get interrupted. But then there are just some times, because as a writer, good inspiration and thoughts can pop up at any moment. And and I'm wired in such a way that if, you know, something is on my mind, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep until I get up, walk over to the desk, and start typing it out. And you know, in addition to sticking, you know, like Cookie said, in terms of being disciplined about it, sticking to that, that 3 posts a day rule. I haven't been doing that a lot because of all the drama around the move for the last month and a half, but I'm, you know, starting to get back into the groove a little bit, you know, and having access back to a CNN and MSNBC will help me with my shut up fool and determination, you know, shut up fool award determinations and stuff. So, but a lot of it is just basically, you know, making sure that I do try to, you know, keep stuff balanced. Because, you know, I remember something Barbara Smith said, you know, during Creating Change 16, where I say we need live revolutionaries, not dead martyrs. And what she was talking about in that is being cognizant of the fact that, yes, you do need time away from all this drama that's going on. Because, you know, it's, you know, after writing about something like 24 murders last year, and then, we're already halfway at that pace now. And we actually had, we had 2 girls that came up in Texas already. It can get to you.
Yeah.
And, so that me time, and taking time away from, to just live a life, is important, is critical.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Monica. We had a question come in for Cookie. So are there existing support systems for filmmakers to produce, storytellers to share their stories, and to secure funding to support blogging? Or does everyone need to deal with the back-end support themselves? Just wondering. Oh, it disappeared. Is it possible for that to come back? Well, Cookie, if you could, are there alternative ways to find funding and ways to tell our stories?
I'm sure there is. It's where you just have to sit and think and, congregate and fellowship with other like-minded people where you all can, shoot off ideas and just have the tenacity to make the ideas happen. Oftentimes, when you do go for an idea, it may not work, and you have to come up with something else and have some other kind of ingenuity to make it happen. But I would say that it's very important to get like-minded people like you, talk to them, because that can be encouraging to, share ideas and come up with creative intentions to make what you need to happen. And Yeah, I think Facebook is really dope. As far as there are a lot of Facebook film groups for particularly African American women, and I just recently became a part of this really dope Facebook group called Real Mamas. Real is spelled REEL, and basically it's with moms like myself who are filmmakers, and I thought that was so dope because they can relate to what it's like to be a parent, but also wanting to make your vision happen as a filmmaker. So I'm really excited about being a part of that group because it's so unique and different and so relative to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to know that there are things like that. And I know Open TV also helps folks get their work out there and helps deal with overhead too. You see if there was just a polling question. Yeah, they do a great job. There's just a polling question that asks, do you think creative works like films and blogs change the way that people see underrepresented communities? And looks like 89% of you agree that they do. So, it's good to think about how you can get your words out there. And Monica, I wanted to ask you this question that came in too. There was a few of them. So this is, let's see, what if any coverage have you had for trans celebrities, and what pushback have you received? What, if any, pushback?
Basically, I'm having to go over 12 years now. So I got to meet Laverne Cox and know Laverne Cox personally, along with Janet Mock. For those of you who are watching the FX series Pose, you might want to check it out because Janet's actually directing some of the episodes, and it's amazing. Some of the other trans actors, like Angelica Ross, who's also in that one. I've known her for several years. As most of the pushback I get is because I'm calling out politics, not say trans Hollywood celebrities and stuff. And in a lot of cases, I'm in support of trans actors being able to do not only trans roles, but roles for cisgender people, because the balance there's an imbalance right now. And that's why the recent controversy with Scarlett Johansson just blew up. Plus, she has a history of cultural appropriation to begin with. There are not a whole lot of roles written for transgender, for trans people. And the fact that, we had Jared Leto and other, cis masculine people playing trans folks, the reason that's a problem is because it continues a stereotype that trans women are just pretending, or we're still quote unquote men in dresses, which is far from the case. This role that Scarlett Johansson just got is supposed to be she's supposed to be playing a trans man. Right. And we've got trans masculine actors out there in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I say having Johansson in that role perpetuates a stereotype that far too many trans men have to deal with, in terms of, people still look at them as ultra butch, butch lesbians, or they don't respect their masculinity. Basically, I get more pushback from, from politics, and I've actually had, in a specific group of folks called trans exclusionary radical feminist, who hate my guts, and the feeling is mutual because they're racist and they are collaborating. But that's a story for another time.
No, I understand. I mean, I will say, like, I mean, your feminism does have to have room for all women. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing? I wanna mention to folks that that there is a feedback survey. This helps us produce these webinars and also get to the kind of questions that you want to hear. So it just takes just a few seconds to complete it. It would really help if you could. I'd really appreciate it. And I want to ask one last question of our panelists, and if you could just take a minute to do this. I want you to leave us with 3 things that you'd like us to remember and share one book that changed the way you think. Coquie, 1 minute. Let us know.
Okay, 3 things. Learn how to figure it out. Embrace starting small, and listen. So those are the 3 things. I do not get a chance to read a lot because I'm always working. But I would say that the book that has changed my life perhaps may be the last book I just read. And it's because I'm writing the screenplay for it. The author hired me to write the screenplay for the book. And it was an interesting book. I don't really want to give the details, the proprietary information about the book, but it was very interesting, and I appreciate the author entrusting me to create the screenplay for it. So, yeah, so hopefully she'll be able to get the financing to make it into a movie so everyone can see what it's all about. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we hope to figure out what the name of the book is and hear more about it. Monica, same question for you. Could you leave us with 3 things that you'd like us to remember? And then can you share with us one book that changed the way that you think?
Let's see. The 3 things I will leave with you today are: trans folks are a part of the diverse mosaic of human life. Bump the haters and vote this November. And as far as a book that has basically changed, I've been a voracious reader of a lot of books, but one of my favorites is called The Testament of Hope, which had the writings and speeches and essays of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And one of my favorite essays of his is Letter from Birmingham City Jail. So, that every person who considers themselves an activist needs to read that. Needs to read that particular essay.
Okay. Thank you so much. That is all the time that we have today. I want to thank our panelists, Coquie Hughes and Monica Roberts. Thank you so much for your insight and for your honesty in sharing your stories and your wisdom with us. I want to thank our audience for your participation and for your amazing questions. I'm always so impressed with these. And I also want you to remember that we are here every Thursday in July from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Central Time. And next week will be July 19th. We'll be joined by Representative Park Cannon and Representative Renita Shannon, both Black, openly queer women from the Georgia House of Reps. We couldn't be more excited to have them. And we've also just confirmed that Minneapolis City Council Vice President Andrea Jenkins will be joining us. And she's the first Black, openly transgender woman elected to public office. We can't wait to have these amazing guests and can't wait to see more about you or to share this with you. See you all next week. Take care.